These 9 mistakes kill a high-mileage engine faster than the miles ever will. The moment your engine crosses 100,000 miles, the rules quietly change. Every oil change decision that felt safe at 30,000 miles can silently destroy a high-mileage engine. No warning light, no strange noise, just invisible damage compounding with every mile until the morning it won't turn over at all. These aren't freak accidents. Mechanics see them every single week. So before your next oil change turns into a $4,000 repair bill, watch closely. I also have a bonus tip at the end that could save your motor. Mistake number 9, the flush funeral. This one kills more high-mileage engines than almost anything else. You notice your engine running rough, maybe burning a little oil, so you buy an engine flush chemical and pour it in before your oil change. On a newer engine, that might work fine. On a high-mileage engine with years of sludge buildup, it can be a death sentence. Here's why. Inside an old engine, sludge becomes structural. Over the years, it fills gaps in hardened gaskets. It plugs microcracks in worn seals. It acts as a crude barrier that actually keeps oil where it belongs. The moment that flush chemical dissolves those deposits, large chunks break loose and fall straight into the oil pan. The oil pump draws fluid through a small wire mesh screen on the pickup tube, and those chunks clog that screen almost instantly. Once the screen blocks, oil pressure collapses. Main bearings starve. Rod bearings overheat. The engine can seize within just minutes. The fix is dead simple. Never flush a high-mileage engine with heavy sludge. Instead, shorten your oil change intervals. Let the detergents and quality oil do the cleaning gradually, over multiple changes. Slow and steady saves the engine. A $12 bottle of flush destroys it. Still, if you think that one's obvious, the next mistake tricks even experienced mechanics. Mistake number 8, the synthetic switcheroo. You've been running conventional oil for the engine's entire life. Someone tells you synthetic's better, so at 120,000 miles, you switch. Within just a few thousand miles, oil spots appear on the driveway. The valve covers start weeping. The rear main seal drips. Here's what happened. Synthetic oil has smaller molecules than conventional, so it flows more easily through tight spaces and micro gaps. On a high-mileage engine, seals and gaskets have already hardened, shrunk, and cracked over the years. Conventional oil's larger molecules physically couldn't squeeze through those tiny openings. Synthetic can. On top of that, synthetic oils carry stronger detergent packages that clean out deposits conventional oil left behind, including sludge that had been quietly plugging worn gaskets and acting as an accidental seal. That's a double hit. Smaller molecules slip through cracks and harden seals, while stronger detergents dissolve the sludge that held everything together. And suddenly, leaks appear in places that never leaked before. The fix. If your engine's lived its entire life on conventional oil, don't jump straight to full synthetic. Start with a synthetic blend to give the seals a gentle transition. Or use a high-mileage synthetic that contains seal conditioners. Then monitor closely for the first 500 miles. However, the next mistake catches people who already did the smart thing and switched to the right oil. Mistake number 7, the seal sweller snare. High-mileage oils from brands like Mobil 1 and Valvoline come loaded with ester-based seal conditioners. These chemicals penetrate aging rubber seals and cause them to swell back toward their original size. Leaks slow down. Oil spots disappear. Everything seems fixed. Then life happens. Maybe the store is out of your usual oil, or you find a deal on regular synthetic, so you switch back. Within weeks, the leaks return, often worse than before. Here's the trap. Those seal conditioners chemically expanded the rubber. Remove the conditioners, and the seals shrink again. The swelling and shrinking cycle accelerates rubber degradation, so the seals end up even smaller and more brittle than they were before you ever touched high-mileage oil. Once you commit, you stay on it. Bouncing between formulas creates a dependency your seals can't survive. And if your engine already runs fine on regular oil with no leaks, there's no reason to switch to high-mileage oil preventatively. You might create a problem your engine never had. Yet, if you think choosing the right oil brand is enough, wait until you hear what the wrong thickness can do. Mistake number 6, the thin oil trap. Modern engines specify thin oils like 0W20 for fuel economy. That spec exists because it matches tight bearing clearances on a factory-fresh engine, where the gap between journal and bearing sits at just 0.002 inches. By 150,000 miles, those clearances have already worn wider. The gap might be 0.003 inches or more. Thin oil can't maintain an adequate film across that wider gap. Under load and heat, the oil film collapses entirely. Metal touches metal. Bearings wear faster. Oil pressure at idle drops. You hear ticking when the engine's hot, and that ticking is the sound of your bearings slowly running dry. The factory spec assumed a new engine. Yours isn't new anymore. Consider stepping up one viscosity grade after 100,000 miles. If your car calls for 0W20, try 5W30. If it calls for 5W30, try 10W30. Don't go extreme. Jumping straight to 20W50 forces the oil pump to work too hard and starves the top end on cold starts. One grade up is usually enough to restore the oil film without creating new problems. And if you're finding these tips helpful, make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the bell. We drop videos like this every week that can save you thousands. Now, the next mistake hides behind a number on the bottle that most people never question. Mistake number 5. The extended drain delusion. Synthetic oil bottles proudly advertise 10,000-mile change intervals. On a healthy engine with tight tolerances, that claim holds up. But on a high-mileage engine, it quietly falls apart. Here's the problem. Worn piston rings let more combustion gases sneak past them and into the crankcase. Mechanics call this blow-by. Those gases carry unburnt fuel, soot, moisture, and corrosive acids directly into your oil. A new engine produces minimal blow-by. A 130,000-mile engine produces significantly more. So the oil absorbs contaminants faster, the anti-wear additives deplete sooner, and the entire formula breaks down in half the time. One peer-reviewed study measured this directly. Anti-wear additives depleted 73% faster when drivers stretched their intervals too far. And the iron content in the used oil, a direct measure of how fast the engine's eating itself, spiked dramatically. That oil formula assumes a tight engine. Yours is leaking combustion gases into every quart. The fix is cheap insurance. Cut your change interval in half after 100,000 miles. If the manufacturer says 10,000, change at 5,000. Or send a sample to an oil analysis lab for around $30 and let them tell you exactly how fast your oil's actually degrading. But if you think the oil itself is the only thing that matters, the next mistake proves the damage can come from what you pour in alongside it. Mistake number 4. The miracle bottle. Your high-mileage engine starts leaking. You walk into an auto parts store, and there it sits on the shelf. A bottle of stop-leak additive that promises to fix the problem for $12. You pour it in and wait. Some of these products contain suspended particles designed to flow to the leak point and plug it. The problem is, once those particles are inside your engine, they don't know the difference between a leaking gasket and a critical oil passage. They flow to the narrowest restriction and clog it. In a high-mileage engine, where oil passages are already partially choked by decades of varnish and microdebris, those particles can block critical flow paths entirely. The bearings starve, cam lobes run dry, and the damage accumulates silently. Even the chemical-type stop leaks carry risk. They swell every rubber seal in the engine, including perfectly healthy ones that weren't even leaking. Overswelling distorts those seals, and the effect wears off after just a few thousand miles, leaving every seal in worse shape than before. If you have a minor leak, switch to a quality high-mileage oil with built-in seal conditioners. If the leak's bad enough to need a miracle bottle, the seal needs actual replacement. Anyway, the next mistake has nothing to do with what you pour in. It's about what you forgot to check. Mistake number 3. The PCV Phantom. You change the oil. A week later, fresh oil spots appear under the car. You blame the oil. You blame the filter. You blame the gasket. But the real culprit is a $10 part you never even checked. The PCV valve routes blow-by gases from the crankcase back into the intake manifold. By 100,000 miles, sludge and carbon have already gummed it up. A clogged PCV valve can't evacuate those gases, so pressure builds inside the crankcase. That pressure pushes fresh oil past every worn seal in the engine. valve cover gaskets, rear main seal, front crank seal, oil pan gasket. And the damage doesn't stop there. A clogged PCV also traps acidic blow-by gases inside the crankcase, so your fresh oil starts degrading the moment you pour it in. You're contaminating the new oil from the inside. Every oil change after 75,000 miles, pull the PCV valve and shake it. You should hear a rattle. No rattle means it's clogged, and you replace it. 5 minutes, $10. The cheapest insurance on your entire engine. And if you think that's a small detail, the next mistake targets a system most drivers don't even know exists. Mistake number 2, the VVT assassin. Almost every engine built after 2005 uses variable valve timing. The system runs on oil-operated solenoids with fine mesh filters and tiny internal passages. These solenoids adjust your cam timing thousands of times per minute, and they depend entirely on clean, properly viscous oil to respond in milliseconds. A high-mileage engine produces more micro-debris, metal shavings from worn cam lobes, carbon from combustion, varnish from oxidized oil. That debris gradually coats the VVT solenoid's fine mesh filter and restricts oil flow. Once flow drops below a critical threshold, the solenoid can't adjust timing anymore. The engine runs on a fixed, inefficient map: power drops, fuel economy tanks. You hear a rattle on cold start that fades after a few seconds. That rattle is the VVT system slowly dying. Ignore it long enough, and the timing chain itself wears prematurely. A timing chain replacement on a modern engine runs $1,500 to $3,000. The solenoid that caused the whole disaster? $150. The fix? Use quality synthetic or high-mileage oil, shorten your intervals, and if you hear that cold start rattle, clean or replace the VVT solenoid before the timing chain pays the price. And now, the number 1 mistake. This one doesn't cause damage directly. It lets damage happen without you ever knowing. Mistake number 1, the drain pan denial. When oil drains from a high-mileage engine, it carries intelligence. The color, texture, and contents of that oil tell you exactly what's happening inside the engine. Yet most people drain into a dark pan, pour it into a jug, and never even glance at it. Check the drain plug magnet. A thin fuzz of metallic dust? That's normal micro wear. Distinct flakes, slivers, or chunks mean the engine's already eating itself. Iron points to cam or crankshaft wear. Copper or bronze signals the bearings are failing. Aluminum means the pistons or cylinder walls are breaking down. Milky or foamy oil means coolant contamination from a failing head gasket. And oil that smells like gasoline means fuel's diluting the oil through worn piston rings. Every one of those warnings is visible to the naked eye. Every one of them, caught early, saves the engine. Caught late, they cost thousands. The fix: every oil change after 100,000 miles, drain into a clean, light-colored container. Check the plug, look at the oil, rub a drop between your fingers. If anything seems off, send a sample to an oil analysis lab for about $30 before you drive another mile. That $30 test is the cheapest diagnostic tool in automotive history. Bonus tip. And here's the bonus tip we promised. This one catches the same drivers who do everything else right. Using a cheap oil filter on a high-mileage engine. A budget filter with low dirt holding capacity saturates faster when the oil's already loaded with contaminants. Once it saturates, the bypass valve opens, and unfiltered oil carrying metal particles circulates freely through your entire engine. Some cheap filters also lack an anti-drain back valve, so oil drains out every time you shut off the engine. Next start, the engine runs dry for a few critical seconds while the filter refills. On a new engine, those seconds are survivable. On worn bearings running on a thin oil film, they compound into real damage over hundreds of starts. A quality filter costs $3 to $5 more. On a high-mileage engine, that's the difference between protection and slow destruction. And there you have it. 9 mistakes that can kill a high-mileage engine faster than the miles ever will. Which one have you made, or which one have you seen destroy someone else's engine? Drop it in the comments. Your experience might save somebody's motor. And if this helped, Don't forget to check the next video where we break down the oil brands mechanics actually trust and the ones they avoid. Thanks for watching.